Like how his batteries are fucking dead. Are you kidding me?
Is that the old one?
The recharge? No, it's the rechargeable one.
Recharge?
Maybe because they've not been charged.
Maybe.
Do you know what we'll do? Let's recharge some now. That sums it up, that, doesn't it? That sums up my life right now. Very carefully placing something in. Go to it, just everything falls out and dies. So, Nisha, be honest, how rough do I look?
Yeah, pretty rough.
Sorry about that, guys. I'm ill, but we still got to do work. So my job's not all good. All my mates are like, oh, Karl, your job's so great. So, yeah, but I don't get fucking sick pay. I've got to turn up to work.
Yeah,
YouTube doesn't offer sick pay. Oh, you can hear it. Oh. Do you know what the worst bit is? When you cough. And you can hear the dryness of the cough. Which means everyone can hear how much it hurts. I'm still here doing work.
It's fine. Only 20 minutes to go.
I've got a horrible fucking headache and I've got 2 giant big lights shining in my face. Oh man, thank God for cold and flu, eh? Oh, let me just sort that. Because it look like I'm crying. It look like I'm so scared of Bird Box, I've been crying.
So scary.
If there's one thing you can say about Bird Box, it's that it's definitely a film that came out in 2018. I didn't watch. If you can't tell, I didn't watch it. I don't give a shit. Hugely popular upon release for its novel premise, a key thing that hooked audiences is that the monster that stalks the main cast throughout the film is entirely unseen. A monster that remained unseen because it apparently looked stupid as fuck. So I didn't watch Bird Box because I read reviews and went, nah, this sounds stupid. But you did, didn't you, Nisha?
Yeah.
So would you like to just give the audience at home the Cliff's Notes version of what happens?
Right.
And that sums it up. The fact you're just laughing and going, oh, it's so dumb.
Well, I liked the concept of it.
The concept is very strong.
Yeah.
It's just the execution didn't really sell me in the trailers and stuff.
But yeah, it's like out of nowhere, this monster.
Or multiple monsters it ends up being.
I don't know how many there are because you never see them.
You never see them. That's what makes it scary, which we'll talk
I
about in a
don't know.
moment.
Yeah, I don't know if there's one or if there's like hundreds.
10 million.
But yeah, it just comes into like America and people start seeing it. And as soon as they see it, they kill themselves.
Yeah, they instantly start committing suicide, and it's later discovered in the film that they do this when you lock eyes with them.
Yeah.
So a solution is found in the form of just makeshift blindfolds, which is why every piece of media related to the film you've probably seen has Sandra Bullock wearing a blindfold. And I like the concept. Mm-hmm. I like the idea, but I just remember seeing the trailer, and it's the woman who just steps in front of like a truck and bursts out laughing and went, no, it's not for me.
See, that freaked me out to start with because it's her sister. It's Sandra Bullock's character. It's her sister.
Okay.
And they're both in the car, and her sister locks eyes with it. But the camera like points to where she's looking, you don't see anything. So it's like, oh my God, what is it?
What has she spotted?
And then she just starts like crashing into cars and the car flips and you think, oh my God. But then she stands in front of a truck and it's like, oh.
And it's a really bad CGI shot, is it?
I think so, yeah. It just looks a bit...
I think it would have been better if they just bring back dummy shots. If we don't always talk about dummy shots, it's just back in the day of filmmaking when CGI wasn't a thing, they just get a dummy of the actor and just throw it off a cliff or out of a window or something like that. And I miss that from movies where you're watching and it's like, oh no, that guy's going to get thrown out of a window, and it smash cuts to just a dummy being thrown out of a...
You can tell as well, it's just like a ragdoll just...
But I think that in of itself is better than the CGI one, because at least it's real, there's a tangible effect there. But, like, the concept of Bird Box is really interesting to me, but like I said, it wasn't something that it hooked me, like it hooked other people evidently. But another film that I really liked the idea of, but when I watched a bit of it, just the execution wasn't really sound, was, I think it was a Robert Redford film on Netflix. I don't know what it's called, but there'll be a title below me. And the idea is that someone discovers that there is definitively an afterlife.
Right.
They just do an experiment and go, oh, wow, yeah, heaven's real. Like, we've conclusively proven by science that heaven's real. And the moment he makes the discovery, like 13 people commit suicide instantly. And the thrust of the narrative is, okay, how do we convince people to, like, just do anything in this world when there is definitively an afterlife that they can go to where they will live forever in perfect harmony with all their loved ones? Yeah. And then it ends up being a love story. I'm like, damn it, that's such a good concept of being a horror movie.
That kind of sounds like, have you seen Invention of Lying?
The Ricky Gervais one.
Yeah.
Which is, again, very solid concept. Guy invents lying, but then Ricky Gervais couldn't help but turn it into just a huge, big, like, self-masturbatory wank fest about how religion's fake. and then it becomes Jesus at the end. It's like,
So he
fucking
talks
hell.
about how there's an afterlife and everyone gets a mansion and stuff like that. So people just don't care about dying. They don't give a shit about life anymore. It's like, well, it doesn't matter because I'm going to get a mansion in afterlife.
But it was a good idea as a concept until it just turned into like, a Ricky Gervais wank fest. And there's so many films out there with really solid just premises that are just ruined, like Bird Box. It's like, oh, that's really cool. Just there's unseen monsters that just make you commit suicide.
Yeah.
And then you just have CGI person getting hit by a truck. It's like, well, I'm done.
It's like most horror films. They're scary until they reveal
The monster, which we'll talk about. So as you said, Nisha, you never see the monster in Bird Box, do you?
No, you kind of see, I think, slight shadows, or you hear, it sounds like wind.
Yeah.
It just sounds like wind.
The wind, so it's The Happening.
Yeah, I thought that when I watched it. I was like, this is like The Happening.
People don't know. Karl, what's The Happening? Oh dear sweet summer child with ribbons in your hair. You are not ready for The Happening. Because isn't that the film where you have like Mark Wahlberg running away from the wind later in the movie?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh God, because it's such a good premise again. Where it's, the tree's giving off a chemical that makes people commit suicide. That's terrifying. But it's M. Night Shyamalan, I think it is. And it's an interesting idea for a threat, but just when you have that bit in the film, it's like, oh look, the grass is shifting, the wind's coming towards us.
Yeah, because you see the grass shifting and people just running away from the grass. And I think the scene I remember is Mark Wahlberg's character is just hiding in a shed or something.
From the grass. The most terrifying of all things. So it's not handled as poorly as The Happening, I take it, in Bird Box, but they show you hints of what the monster is. And the true horror, I would imagine, is what you see people do in response to the monster. Where you imagine, like, how bad can this thing be if it's making people instantly commit suicide? And that reminds me a lot of Death Stranding. And are you familiar with Death Stranding at all?
Is that the one with Norman Reedus?
Yeah, Norman Reedus and his funky fetus. That's the one. And the trailers had a very similar thing where there is this unseen threat stalking the characters. And you see this random guy get grabbed by the threat.
Yeah.
And instantly he pulls out a knife and starts stabbing himself in the gut because he's so terrified of what the monster will do to him if it gets him.
Yeah.
And that is it's a phenomenal premise of, what the fuck is this monster?
Yeah.
What is it that's so terrifying that a person caught by it immediately resorts to suicide to stop it from getting them?
Yeah.
And then, like, if you've not played the game, spoilers, it's really underwhelming, at least in my opinion. That seems to be a big problem with, like, horror as a genre. It's like when you show the thing that everyone's terrified of, it's always terrible because whatever it is will never be as scary as what you imagined in your own mind. Because humans naturally fear the unknown. Something we've talked about many times before and will no doubt talk about again because horror movies just repeatedly get this thing wrong.
Yeah.
So before we move on to the monsters in Bird Box, do you have an example in mind of a horror movie that just shit the bed the moment it showed the threat?
Yep.
Okay, so what's this one?
A strong one is Insidious. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've watched a lot of crappy horror movies, so you have to remind me, what's Insidious about?
So this lad, he falls into a coma, and he's gone to a place called The Further, which is...
I think I remember. Is this the one where it's the poster of the little boy on the front?
Yeah.
But to be fair, that could be any horror movie released in the last 10 years.
That one, yeah.
Isn't there a horror movie called, like, The Boy? That just has that?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's a good point,
what
actually.
happens then? What is this monster? Is this...
So I think because originally he goes into the attic and he sees something in the attic and he falls into a coma the next day.
Again, amazing premise. And
Yeah.
what the fuck did this kid see? That was so terrifying, it made his mind shut down.
But yeah, he falls into a coma and then shit starts happening around the house. And
Classic horror movie stuff.
They decide to move house.
Why does no one know that is? Are they the smartest protagonists in a horror movie? So I always think it's like Amityville Horror, let's move. Oh, we've got no money, it's all tied up in this house. If you can afford a giant 90-bedroom house, you can sell it. Sell it at a loss and go live in a fucking house. Anyway, what happens next?
Yeah, they move house. Shit's still happening. So they get in a psychic.
Oh, that's rough.
They get in this psychic lady, like paranormal investigator, who tries to communicate with the son. But I can't remember
He's stuck in the Further.
Yeah, he's stuck in the Further. I can't remember exactly every detail, but I know the dad goes into the Further. Like,
did Stranger Things rip this off? Isn't that just the Upside Down?
Yeah, I think so. It sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, the little kid gets stuck in the Upside Down and Winona Ryder tries to talk to him.
That just sounds
By the
exactly
Christmas tree
the
lights.
same.
Maybe it's just, it's a trope, so continue.
But yeah, the dad goes into the Further because he can astral project, apparently.
He got the sheep talisman from Jackie Chan Adventures, yes, go on.
But yeah, up to this point, this film is quite scary
because you never see the monster.
You don't see what's causing the shit happening. So He goes into the further and it just looks really tacky. Like, you're going into a haunted house. It looks like a fairground ride. And it goes into this attic room and you just see this creature. It looks like Darth Maul. I just burst out laughing.
Okay, well, I don't remember that much. Well, let's put a picture of Darth Maul and the creature from Insidious behind me. People are, the one in for me is the film Drag Me to Hell, which was directed by Sam Raimi, so he gets away with it a little bit because there's a camp element to it, but it is a really solid, if not generic by the numbers, horror movie.
Yeah. Right
up until they have a seance to like contact the demon that's been taunting this lady. And the demon just takes over a goat that is very clearly a puppet being wheeled by someone's hand, which then bites somebody. And it's like, oh, and you can just like, it was so scary. Right up until the goat just starts screaming in a human voice.
Yeah, there's just one moment that changes the whole...
It completely just deflates all sense of tension. It's like, there's a film I watched recently as well, it's called Dark Skies, I think it's called. It's about... a family goes into a house and weird shit starts happening. But the twist here is it's not ghosts, it's not a demon, it's not a poltergeist, it's aliens.
Oh, right.
So it's a cool twist on an old, well-worn horror trope, but they show you the aliens, and the aliens are these really creepy, like, just tall CGI monsters that look like matchsticks. It's like, oh, come on! You ruined it! Don't show the monster!
It's really if you're going to show a monster...
It better be fucking scary.
It's got to be, I think there's a high bar.
Has it ever worked for you? Has there ever been a horror movie where it's shown the monster and you've gone, fuck it, that is terrifying?
I think maybe when I was a lot younger, because a lot of things scared me when I was younger, like playing like Resident Evil and stuff like that. Even I laugh at it now. But,
the mashed potato zombies.
Yeah, but now I find it really hard to watch a horror film and be genuinely scared.
Because you know all the tropes.
Yeah, I mean, I've studied film. I know everything looks fake. A lot of monsters, I think I mentioned in As Above, So Below, they just look like people wearing white dresses and in white makeup. Like, what's scary about that?
There's only one for me, and it's Wreck, which we've talked about before, and it's because they actually got a guy who has a disease which gives him limbs that are like twice as long, and they're like this thin. So he has unnaturally long limbs. He's like 9 foot tall.
Like Slender Man.
Yeah, basically. And he plays just this horrible, just emaciated... demon-infested lady who's lived in her own shit for about 30 fucking years.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying. Because you know it's real, and it's like there's a tangibility to it, but you can't see in your head like, well, I know it's real, it looks so real, but it can't be a person. And then you find out, no, it's a real dude, and it's a real practical effect. And that's why it's frightening, because it's a real thing that's like swinging around its arms at the people in the film. And you only ever see it like in like low light through a night vision scope on a camera. So it's like, well, yeah. That means you can hide, like, you know, I think it's the only time I've ever, like, seen a movie monster and gone, what the fuck is that? I remember I watching it with my mate who stood up and left. Like, he hates horror movies so much so we watch them all the time. He saw the monster and just went, fuck that, I'm done, and just left the room and refused to come back in until the movie ended.
I think I've got a friend who's scared of horror films. She'd watch a film with me and just have the pillow in front of her face and be like, looking at me like, what's happening? What's happening? I'm like, please just watch it. I think we did that watch this Descent like years ago.
Oh, man.
She's like, what's happening? Watch the film.
So I remember we went to the cinema with him to watch Paranormal Activity.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember I just tapped him on the shoulder, like, oh, mate, you got some popcorn? And so worth it.
I think that is the last film that genuinely scared me to death. I remember coming out of the cinema like, is it real? Oh my God, is it real footage?
I think everybody did. And then they released like Paranormal Activity 9. And again, it all falls into the unseen threat is always scarier, where after you've watched the film, you find yourself asking, were they really being haunted by a ghost, or did someone just go crazy and kill their family?
Yeah.
And the fact you don't know is what makes it scary, because the thing you'll come up with in your head is always more threat. And then I think they have like a deleted ending where they just show like throwing someone across the room and doing like a big scary demon face. Like,
yeah, because she looks at the camera in the corner and just
with the demon face. Like, it's like, wow.
That ruined it.
So it's the hour and a half equivalent of those videos where it's the face that pop up at the end. Awesome. Anyway, Bird Box. So we got that.
So, bringing it back to the actual article.
Yes.
Because we went on a bit of a tangent there.
We did, yes.
You don't see the monsters in Bird Box.
In Bird Box?
In Bird, right, I'll say that again.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, getting back to the actual article, because we went on a bit of a tangent
We did, yes. It's okay.
You don't see the monsters in Bird Box.
No, and that was by design, and the screenwriter never intended for the audience to see the monsters, because they understood the thing we've spent the last 10 minutes talking about, which is an unseen threat, always scarier. Producers, however, disagreed with the guy they were paying to write the movie they were producing and said, well, we need to see the monster. We need to know why it's so scary. And the screenwriter tried to explain, well, the monster, it's a representation of whoever sees its own personal fears. So it changes for everybody. And we're kind of hoping that's hinted at during the movie. And the audience watching at home will be able to understand that and use it. Like, no, show the monster. And according to the screenwriter, he was badgered about this almost every day of production, with someone just coming over and show the monster though. It's like, I don't want to show it, but show the monster though. Basically, do the raw. It's the Shrek, do the raw, but show the monster though. It's like, fine, I'll show the monster. So he went and wrote an extra scene that wasn't in the original script, where Sandra Bullock has a nightmare and she sees the monster. And there you go, there's your excuse to show the monster on screen. And as I mentioned, the monster is supposed to be a representation of the fears of the person who sees it. And for Sandra Bullock's character, it's like childbirth or, having the responsibility of another life. Yeah. So her monster was a misshapen baby creature with a snake body. Which sounds scary. It sounds scary, but here's the thing. The snake part of that monster was going to be realised with CGI.
Oh no.
So the monster standing on set was a guy wearing one of those dumb CGI green suits and a mask that looked like this. And you can't see the mask. I'm going to zoom down.
I want to see this.
You want to see this right now. So, okay, so Nisha, are you ready to see the monster from Bird Box?
Go for it. Oh my god.
But now imagine that. And it's a guy wearing that mask and he's wearing one of those green morph suits. And then imagine he's doing the thing that people in green morph suits do, like this.
You can't take that seriously.
You can't, can you? And Sandra Bullock could not. And according to her, the first time she saw it, when she was told by producers, look, this is the scariest thing you've ever seen. You need to act fucking terrified. She turned around, saw the guy in the green morph suit wearing that mask, and burst out laughing. And under her breath, between just wheezes of laughter, said, it looks like a long fat baby. And everybody on set burst out laughing. And they apparently tried to film that scene multiple times. And every time they did, Sandra Bullock started laughing to the point where she told producers, please don't make me film any scenes with this thing. Not because it's scary, but because I can't stop laughing. And eventually they realised, oh fuck, if Sandra Bullock's not going to stop laughing at it, what's the audience going to do? Yeah. It's like she's like a professional actress and she can't keep it together. What audience? They're going to do that thing that I do now, watch Drag Me to Hell, and the goat just starts spinning around. It's like, well, they're going to burst out laughing. So they wisely cut that scene out and just went with the screenwriter's original vision of an unseen monster.
You know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
That thing on The Sims where you download content online and then it adds like adult clothes to a baby by accident, and it's just like, ugh.
Oh, it's that thing where someone online put Pikachu's skin onto Bayonetta's body in Smash Bros. So you've got Pikachu with long legs, leg Pikachu.
Oh, it's like the horrible Sonic all over again.
Oh man, don't do it. The teeth. So can we cut? Do you think there's anything we can cut in from earlier for the ending bit?
Probably some of the stuff we talked about, like horror films.
Oh, yeah, we'll do. We'll just do a quick lead into that then, and then just.
Yeah, I think so. Unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
No, it's fair enough. We've got some good stuff in there. Yeah. I think we can cut it to the end. So there are so many horror movies out there that I've watched that were all ruined the moment I saw the fucking monster.
Yeah.
And have you got any examples of that happened to you with films?